The Rock, the People's Champion, the Brahma Bull, the Hollywood megastar, the jabroni-beaten, pie-eaten, trailblazing, eyebrow-raising Dwayne The Rock Johnson is back in the WWE, maybe. Because although he did return on SmackDown, there's no indication that there are any plans for him to stay in the long term. But that's not going to stop me and the rest of the internet to try and fantasy book what would happen if The Rock were to come back on a more semi-regular basis. And let's be honest, like, he can come back on a regular basis if he wanted to. He sure as shit doesn't need the money, but he can, because there are no movies going on, there are no TV shows going on, so I've never seen a time better than now for The Rock to come back and make a run in the WWE. But with his first appearance back, I have no indication saying that he's gonna be here for the long term. If anything, like, that was to me a very clear one-off appearance, because in that appearance alone they were very purposeful in keeping him away from anything to do with the bloodline. There were no interactions with Roman Reigns, no interactions with Paul Heyman, the cell phone, there was no interactions with Jimmy, Solo, no interactions with anybody directly involved with the bloodline storyline. And let's be honest, fellas, if The Rock comes back, he should come back for something related to the bloodline. So if in his return there's no threads to connect between him and the bloodline, I don't see how we can call this a real return. But hey, a fella can dream, and that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be looking at 6 potential matches for The Rock if he were to come back on a semi-regular basis. And I think the last one's probably going to piss off a few of you, but I think some of you that know me are going to see it coming. And hey, as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring that bell for notifications. This is a wrestling channel through and through, baby, so if you like wrestling, make sure you subscribe. All right, well, let's start with the super obvious one. It is The Rock versus Roman Reigns. This is like the match that needs to happen. This is the match that they need to build to. This is really the last obstacle left for Roman Reigns for him to truly be the god and the tribal chief of the entire WWE. Because I've always found it interesting, how can he call himself the tribal chief when somebody like The Rock exists? But if The Rock is in the world of the WWE, we can put that question to bed and finally decide who truly is worthy of being the tribal chief. And look, with all due respect to everyone else that's on this list and everyone else on the roster, no other match matters. Literally, no other match matters. This is the only match that matters if The Rock comes back. If The Rock comes back on a semi-regular basis to the WWE and we don't have a match with Roman Reigns, I deem that return a complete and utter failure, because there's nothing left for The Rock. Sure, we can use The Rock to help elevate younger talent, sure, but is The Rock really going to put himself in a position to put over younger talent? I don't think that that's really the way that Dwayne does things. I think the way that Dwayne does things is to do things in the biggest ways possible, and there is no bigger match that exists for him than Roman Reigns. No ifs, ands, or buts. It is Roman Reigns. Now, the other question on the tip of the majority of people's tongues is where to have this match, because the obvious answer is WrestleMania, and I believe that there is no place else that could host a match of this magnitude. It has to be WrestleMania. It can't be SummerSlam. It can't be Survivor Series. It can't be Fastlane. It has to be WrestleMania. But even then, I don't think that WrestleMania is a lock for these two, because from what I understand, The Rock wanted to do something even bigger than WrestleMania, and I don't know what that is, but the cynical brain in me tells me that the one thing that people might see as bigger than WrestleMania is a bigger paycheck, and a bigger paycheck can come in the form of the Saudi Arabian government. So although I truly believe that this match belongs at WrestleMania and only at WrestleMania, I don't think that the chances are 0% that The Rock versus Roman Reigns is a marquee match enough to generate tourism to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, enough to the point that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is willing to put their money where their mouth is and straight up just buy The Rock versus Roman Reigns at one of their crown jewel events. Look, we can talk about making history and making headlines all over the world because of being on a WrestleMania card, but at the end of the day, TKO, The Rock, and Roman Reigns are here to do business and make as much money as possible. And if a Saudi Arabian match ends up being a bigger bag than a potential match at WrestleMania, I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up happening in Riyadh. Seriously, I do not put it past the Saudi government to put up just so much money to get this on their card. So yeah, in conclusion, it should happen at WrestleMania, but I wouldn't book that just yet. I'm giving away $400 to one of you. Well, I'm not, but the sponsor this month, Capital One Shopping, is. And we've already given away the $100 prize, the $200 prize to one of my viewers on Twitch, and now we're on to the $400 prize, and YouTube is eligible. All you have to do to enter is click the top link in my bio, which will take you to this landing page right here. And as you can see, we're giving away $400 or the MetaQuest 2 headset, whichever one you prefer, to one of you that installs the Capital One Shopping extension to your browser. Once you're on the landing page, click here to enter giveaway. Enter your email and your username here. This information is for me and my team, not for Capital One, so that we can send you a message if we pick you as the winner. And once you click submit, you'll be taken to the Capital One Shopping landing page where you have to, with one click, install the Capital One Shopping extension to your browser. By the way, this will only work on laptop or desktop, so it won't work on your smartphone, sadly. But once you've installed the extension, boom, that's it. You are in and all entered to the giveaway. The extension is super handy too. It'll save you money while you're shopping. Think of it like Honey, but just way better, because aside from just giving you codes, it'll also give you alternate links to other retailers that are selling the exact same item at a cheaper price. So not only are they helping you save money, but they're also giving away so many cool things to our community. The more people that enter this giveaway, the bigger and bigger the prizes will get. I've already been told that the next prize tier after this will be $700 and then $1,200. So again, shout out to Capital One Shopping for sponsoring this month. So thank you so much. And guys, good luck. Next up, I'd have Jimmy Uso. And I think Jimmy Uso is playing the correct character to connect The Rock to Roman Reigns. We've already been seeing that in storyline, Jimmy Uso is trying to get back in the good books of the bloodline, and he's doing so in ways that is actually pissing off the likes of Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, because he's picking fights that then need to be fought by the bloodline. Basically, he's cashing checks that the bloodline needs to pay. We already saw this with him creating problems with John Cena, AJ Styles, and I wouldn't put it past Jimmy to create problems with The Rock, ultimately leading to potentially a quick match between The Rock and Jimmy Uso, a match that I wouldn't be surprised if it's another one of those 6-second squash matches that The Rock had at a WrestleMania. But from a storyline perspective, I could definitely see Jimmy Uso being the catalyst to start all of this. He could be the first domino to fall that ultimately ends up in it being The Rock versus Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia or at WrestleMania. And he's just playing this great delusional character that thinks he's got all of the backup of the bloodline but doesn't. So I could definitely see him approaching and confronting Dwayne Johnson in a similar manner that he's been confronting John Cena in recent weeks. Next up, I'm calling a tag match. I could definitely see Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa teaming up to take on The Rock and a tag team partner of his. And I could see this happening at a Saudi Arabian event, leading to an inevitable Roman Reigns versus The Rock match. So who would The Rock's partner be? And I think it would be none other than John Cena. I could see John Cena and The Rock partnering up to take out Solo and Roman Reigns, ultimately really to help continue to build to a match between Roman Reigns and The Rock. And although this sounds crazy, like what? How could you possibly have the Cena and The Rock team up? I think I called them the Cena and The Rock team up. Well, it's happened before, Survivor Series 2011. So we have precedent that these two are willing to put their differences aside, even for one match, to be able to take on a greater threat. Even though the threat back then was Ms. Truth, this is a much bigger threat, definitely worth bringing together two of the biggest names in professional wrestling history in The Rock and John Cena. Now, if the Saudi Arabian government wants to buy a Cena Rock match, I'm happy with them buying this one. I don't want it to be the one-on-one match, but I could definitely see a tag match between Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa versus John Cena and The Rock happening at a Saudi show. Next up, I actually have Brock Lesnar. If you want a match to generate buzz, to generate headlines, to go beyond the world of professional wrestling into the mainstream, it's The Rock and Brock Lesnar. Because as huge as Roman Reigns is in the world of professional wrestling, he isn't a household name outside of the world of professional wrestling. Brock Lesnar is, based on his time in the UFC. And I think that The Rock and Brock Lesnar would be a great celebration of the marriage between Endeavor and the WWE, because Brock Lesnar has that UFC background, and of course The Rock, well, well, is The Rock, and everybody on the planet Earth knows who The Rock is. This would generate so many headlines in mainstream media, not only like news and talk shows and magazines and tabloids, but also like legitimate sports sources like ESPN, Fox Sports, etc. I think this would be a huge match. Let's not forget that they also have a little bit of unfinished business, because it was Brock Lesnar that took the undisputed WWE Championship off of The Rock at SummerSlam 2002 and basically sent The Rock packing to Hollywood. This was the last match that The Rock would have as a full-time WWE performer. He would come back here and then seldomly. He had that short run as Hollywood Rock in 2003, but this was the end of The Rock as a regular full-time WWE employee, because he would go on to make movies. And The Rock never got that quote mandatory rematch clause, so hey, you know what? 21 years later, let's get that rematch clause in, baby. Next up, I have Austin Theory. And honestly, if the WWE were smart, they wouldn't just have The Rock, if they were to get him for a semi-regular basis, have matches with mega stars that are already established, like the Brock Lesnar's, like the John Cena's, and the Roman Reigns's of the world. But also, let's have him have a couple of matches with some of the 20-something-year-olds to help them really become mega stars in their own right in the WWE, because they're the ones that are going to be carrying the mantle for the next 20 years, and Austin Theory is one of those guys. And clearly, there's somebody backstage that just absolutely adores Austin Theory, because Austin Theory continues to get these amazing opportunities to interact and get physical with these absolute mega legends of the business. We had Austin Theory and Stone Cold Steve Austin get very physical with one another at WrestleMania 38, where Austin Theory sold one of the greatest Stone Cold stunners that I've ever seen. We also saw him have a one-on-one feud with John Cena. Sure, he won the match, but he definitely lost that feud. This was not the best executed feud for sure, but still, it shows the level of trust that the WWE has for somebody like Austin Theory to allow him to even grace the same ring as the likes of John Cena and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And let's not forget that during The Rock's comeback, this was the main physical altercation that he had, him versus Austin Theory. So I think that the writing is already there. I think the narrative makes sense. I think that it's an easy heel for The Rock to have a feud against. Those are easy promos that The Rock could really use to help not just elevate himself and get the crowd involved, but really help get Austin Theory over. So I think the promo battles between these two would be fantastic. Austin Theory has shown that he has definitely matured since getting absolutely raffle stomped by John Cena. And again, I think this is just an easy feud for The Rock. The fans already love The Rock and they love to hate Austin Theory. So I think it just fits so nicely like a snug little glove. Let's have The Rock help put over Austin Theory. Austin Theory would lose, but you can definitely get put over in a loss. Just look at Kevin Owens losing to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Losing to somebody like The Rock is not getting buried. Like in no world is that getting buried. All right, I want you to put your pitchforks away for a second, because I know you're gonna hate this last one, but you're gonna need to hear me out, because I think it needs to be Dom. I think it needs to be Dominic Mysterio to be the sixth person that The Rock could potentially have a match with in his return in the WWE. Look, immediately The Rock would obviously become the biggest, most beloved, and most cheered babyface in the entire company throughout his short duration that he's with the WWE. There's no denying that. So why not put him against the heel that has the most heat and everyone hates and everyone loves to root against in Dominic Mysterio? Like, to me, that's just money. It just makes sense. Biggest face versus biggest heel. Boom. Let's have a match. And it can be a squash match and it still would help get Dominic over. Look, Dominic is on an absolute run, man. He is just playing this character to a T. And not only would The Rock have to contend with Dominic Mysterio, but it also allows guys like the Damian Priests of the world, the Finn Balor's, and the Rhea Ripley's to get those short interactions with The Rock to help all of Judgment Day get that Rock rub. But ultimately, like, if I have to pick somebody from Judgment Day for The Rock to have a match with, I really think that it needs to be Dominic Mysterio. Just imagine the hilarious roasts that The Rock could come up with for Dominic Mysterio. It would just be, it would be criminal to not give us that. And even if it doesn't end up being a match, I would love for at some point, if The Rock comes back again to the WWE for him to be interrupted by Dominic Mysterio, because it would instantly be must-watch television. All right, so I'll leave it at that. Who would you have The Rock face if he were to come back in a semi-regular basis? Let me know down in the comments. But other than that, I'm done. Get out of here. The video's over.